Hey guys, welcome back to another action figure review. Today, looking at something a bit different this time, checking out a Japanese figure from Second Acts, we have the metallic version of Asagi Igawa. The front of the box just has the studio name and the name of the figure, while the back has a bit more information on the series, company logo, and a bunch of warnings about sharp edges. Like most figures from Japan, first we have to unwrap the tissue paper from the box. Collectors usually leave this on. Opening the box from the bottom, we can remove the tightly packed tray that displays the figure and accessories. Once out of the plastic tray, high quality figures like these usually have more plastic covering the major joints of the figure, in order to stop the paint from rubbing against the joints while in transportation. Asagi Igawa is the main character of the Taimanin Asagi visual novel games. Set in the near future of Japan, where an ancient clan of anti-demon ninjas are used as a force to remove demonic influence and corruption from the human world. As a secret organization, they are ordered by the Japanese government to perform the most dangerous missions, including infiltration, espionage, hostage rescues, and eliminating demonic targets. Asagi, being the leader of the ninjas, is a mature and confident woman who is always serious and strict. The choose-your-own-path style of gameplay for the visual novel lets you get multiple endings ranging from the true story path or to more lewd endings for the character in the game. This version of Asagi is the alternate metallic color version, a re-release of the standard purple version released in 2020. Both figures' designs are based on the artwork from Kagami, inspired by the Taimanin Asagi 3 game. Let's check out the details. Large, bright anime-style eyes are covered by large strands of dark blue hair, with a small bump for a nose and a light smile. The soft facial features like the nose, ears, and chin give this figure an anime style to it. On the back of the head, we have more long flowing hair, colored in a gradient from light to darker blues at the bottom. Two large strands of hair curl at the side, with three larger strands continuing down to the back. Reaching all the way to the lower back, we have another light gradient of light and dark blues, ending at the large strands of hair. On the chest, we can see the new metallic paint they used for this version on the skin-tight suit, featuring a large set of breasts for Asagi. On the body, the suit forms into different parts, with more of that metallic blue on the navel with the silver trim, and some exposed skin on the side covered in a fishnet paint effect. Underneath the long hair, we have the exposed light skin back. We have a small peg at the top of the back, where we will be covering this up with an accessory later in the review. The shoulders are bare, but the biceps are covered with more of that silver and metallic blue color. On the elbows, more of that fishnet painted effect can be seen here. The armor reaches all the way to the arms, with the hands covered in blue gloves with a silver plate of armor on the back of the hand. On the front of the waist, we can see more of that metallic skin-tight suit and silver trim along with the skinny frame of the figure. And on the back, we have the butt of the figure, in its own section separated from the thighs or waist. On the outer part of the thighs, we have a purple armor plate with a silver trim wrapping around the thighs. The paint here also has that glittery effect, giving it that metallic look. And on the inner part of the thighs, we can see more of that metallic blue suit effect. The front of the legs are covered in a silver and purple armor, completely protecting the front, while the back of the legs have that fishnet effect painted onto the bare skin. We wrap up the details of the figure with the heels. A metallic high-heeled shoe is in the same purple metallic color of the legs, with the silver stripe down the center. Let's check out the articulation. The head joint can bend up and down, and bob side to side. While you might think the hair hinders the rotation, the hair on the back actually opens up and lifts, allowing you to bend the head side to side or get more range. The hair can be closed back as well. On the chest, we have slight rotation, but some great forward and backwards range. The breast on this figure can be lifted and rotated. The shoulders are on a butterfly joint, letting the shoulder pivot forward and back for greater range. The arms can open and fully rotate as well. We don't have double jointed elbows, but this single bend has some great range. The bicep joint can rotate and is cleverly hidden by the sculpt. The hands rotate and bend up and down. There is hardly any rotation at the waist, but more of a side pivot and forward and back crunching. The thigh joints take some pretty getting used to, with the unique joint used here, but eventually with the right rotation, you can get some great range on the legs. We have rotation at the thighs, double jointed knees with a great range of tightness, ankles that rotate and bend up and down, and have a toe that bends up. As a non-scale figure, Asagi stands at just 6 inches tall or 15 centimeters tall. Second Axe being a Japanese company, it scales well with other figures from Japan. Here I have Asagi next to a Figma Darkness. Here, next to Hasbro's 1/12 scale figures, we have a nice match in scale that works well with each other. Of course, just to see, some larger scale figures like McFarlane still make the 6-inch figures look too small in comparison. Next to some 1/12 scale Mythic Legions, the human-sized figures are just a bit too big, but I would assume most would be using the monsters instead anyways. We get an instruction book in Japanese on how to handle the figure. We get 4 additional faces, this one being a lust expression, a shocked facial expression, a facial expression in the Ahegao style, and finally a smug looking face. To install the new faces, you can carefully remove the hairpiece first. It's attached by 2 large pegs at the top. Then we can start to work on the face, and similar to the hair, it's attached at the top by a large curved peg. You can then easily slide the new face into place. It holds into place tightly, requiring no pressure to place back in. And then place the hairpiece on top afterwards. We get 3 extra pairs of hands, this one in a grasping pose, a pair of hands in the peace gesture, and a pair of gripping hands to hold the sword. To install the alternate hands, you can easily pull off the hands. They require some pull, but not as much as other figures. The new hands then peg into the figure easily. We get a finely painted sword with more matching metallic purple and silver paint on the blade. We get a purple scabbard with gold decorations on it and a small socket to peg onto the figure, as well as a peg for the handle. The handle here actually comes off of the sword and attaches to the scabbard, to give the appearance of the sword being put away. The small peg at the back of the figure is for attaching the sword to the figure. It's easy to equip and stays on tightly. We get a rather plain stand with the socket at the top to attach the claw arm into. We have an articulated claw with joints that allow it to bend. It attaches to the base easily. It's sturdy and big enough to support the figure without worry. And we have a small sign that basically reads "Fresh Pig for Rent" with a few choice words about Asagi. It's actually made of real cardboard, it's a nice detail. And to keep this review safe for work, all of the lewd accessories and images are going to be linked at the end of the video in an unlisted video. So check that out if you want to see the full review. For those who are familiar with Asagi, they know what they're in for with this action figure. The nature of the visual novel games and the situations the main characters gets into, it's no wonder why this figure comes with so many unique accessories. As the second version, we miss out on the more original classic look of the character, but the aftermarket for this figure has been absolutely insane. So a alternate color release was anyone's best option of securing their own Asagi figure. The metallic color looks great on this figure, and while the shine hides some of the smaller details like the navel, the reflection of light just makes this figure pop, especially in good lighting. This figure is very pricey, and even at the price I pre-ordered it at, there still was an alternate package of accessories that you can pretty much only get if you lived in Japan or use a dedicated third-party shopper. So it kind of feels bad to spend all that money and still not have all the features, but with rare niche figures like Asagi, I'll take what I can get. The star of the show on the figure is definitely the unique articulation that even Second Axe says to take your time to appreciate. At a glance, the joints look standard, as if they won't reach the tight poses that you would expect out of a Japanese figure. But I was wrong to assume that. The butterfly shoulder joint and the tight elbow range without being double jointed really impressed me. The leg articulation took me a good minute to wrap my head around, but after tinkering with the joints, it finally clicked in my head, and it's a different but enjoyable experience. I am careful when handling the figure. even though it feels sturdy. It's not that it's a fragile figure, but at the price that it is, I'm going to be gentle regardless. With the different expressions and hands, there's a limitless possibility with posing a quality figure like this has. Fans of the Taimanin Asagi visual novel need no convincing for this figure. If you're like me and missed out on the first wave, you've already either receiving yours or scrambling to find one in stock. As for being a loot figure in general, at the price point this figure retails at, it's more of a holy grail figure that many have been waiting to see happen, rather than a neat loot figure you see released, and to be easily purchased on a whim. I feel like there are better and cheaper options for loot figures, especially with the recent boom of Chinese figure studios releasing a ton of impressive figures in this category. But like I said earlier, it's more for the hardcore Asagi fans out there, but that doesn't take away on how amazing this figure is. It's just going to be out of reach for a lot of collectors. Overall, it's a very solid quality figure. The joints feel extremely smooth, the articulation is amazing, and comes with a respectable amount of accessories for some great poses in anyone's collection. If you can find one for close to retail and you're an Asagi fan, you won't regret it. It's a quality figure, just a bit pricey for a bit of lootness. Alright guys, that's it for this review. Leave a comment letting me know how you like this figure, subscribe, or share this video with your friends to help out the channel.